There's the scene square in the middle of the film where Jimmy Stewart goes mad. He goes mad with grief and guilt over Madeline's death. He's catatonic in the sanitarium, and Midge visits him and can't get through to him, and she talks to the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, he is messed up, sister. And then he has that crazy visual Pink Floyd The Wall
with brick animation, in fact.
With animation,
we haven't seen animation at all.
Yeah, I know. And really out there, quite neat. It's very creative. The next scene we see him, he's just walking about San Francisco like none of that ever happened. And they never talk about the time he went completely mad. So my theory is that the whole second half of the film is his demented revenge fantasy. He can't believe that Madeline's dead, but he's so angry about it, and he has this twisted, convoluted fantasy about how she was an actress, and then he could get her back and then get back at her.
Mm-hmm. His own guilt, maybe, is what kills her off again. He gets her and he destroys it all over again because of his own weird mental breakdown.
I don't actually think that that's what happened, but I'm quite surprised that theory isn't floated about. Otherwise, why do you have that scene in the sanitarium? Why do you elaborate and have Midge talk to the shrink and go through all those details if you're not trying to tell the audience something? I kept waiting for that scene to pay off at some point at the end of the film, and it never did, and so I developed my cuckoo bananas theory, which would be welcome on Lostopedia.
I think it's really good. I like that idea.
Thank you.
I also have said for many years the end of Taxi Driver, and people should know Taxi Driver by now.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that at length. Is that just not everything he wants? The girl's gone back home. The woman he wanted in the first place, maybe there's potential there after all, or at the very least she respects him, and he's still got this job that he seems to love/hate.
Scorsese and Schrader both swear that this is legitimately what's supposed to have happened to the character of Travis Bickle. So I'm going to take that at face value and interpret it as such. Scorsese likes to create movies in that almost dream space. So this movie is fictional, and he is making it for us, an audience. And he has convinced this audience to empathize with this character despite his incredibly troubled nature and behavior. You have a character the audience is in league with, even though they're bad, and then you turn it around on the audience and kind of betray them by giving them this overly happy ending where they get everything they think they want, and it is by watching him succeed so completely that you realize how much you've been manipulated by the filmmaker, by Travis, by whatever it is, and you want the whole film for things to work out for him. You want him to get Betsy. You want him to save Iris. You want him to be respected by his colleagues, but then once he actually has all those things, you realize he doesn't actually deserve them. It's turning the camera back on the audience. And the last shot of the film is him staring, like the shot of his eyes in the rear view mirror, looking practically right into camera.
Iris asked him at one point, have you ever looked at your own eyeballs in the mirror? He does that several times in this film.
Yes,
and Schrader and Scorsese both acknowledge. Schrader says on the documentary, it's going to happen again, and it isn't going to turn out so well next time.
But the criticism is on us as an audience. Like the media in the film, who sees him as a hero because he killed bad people, even though it was just a twist of fate that he didn't kill a presidential candidate and become an incredible villain. Would have been a very different headline the next day if he had succeeded there. And he would have had a far different outcome, that he would have probably deserved more. He belongs in prison. It must be fantasy because there's no planet on which this man doesn't end up in prison.
And it's had to have been many months because his hair is fully grown back now. And he's not seen Betsy in all this time. Why is she suddenly there? But okay, if they don't think that's the true ending, that's okay. I can believe what I want to believe, and that's what I always will about this film. And I think either way it's great. If it's literal or if it's a fantasy, it's a tremendous ending because it does bring up the whole fame thing. King of Comedy hits it even more on the head. This guy succeeded being a terrible person. He won.